Darlings, it's Mummy, Sybil Brunchen, and I'm coming to you live right now from my dining area, my Eden kitchen area. And I wanted to speak to you a little bit about orchids because many of you are private messaging me all the time when I post things about my orchids. And I don't have a greenhouse. I do have a cute little back deck, which is southern exposure. Oh, look, the birds are coming back in again. Anyway, I have a back deck, which is southern exposure. But of course, orchids can't be in direct sunlight. So I have to sort of time everything. My African violets are sitting out today, but it's rainy. So no one's getting sunburned. But anyway, back to my orchids. I want to just help you because I'm seeing all of these people worried about that they're going to kill their orchids. And orchids are actually remarkably easy to take care of. They're not as temperamental as everyone thinks. Okay, so a couple of easy things to do. First of all, no tap water. No tap water. There is an expense here. You are going to have to use distilled water. Orchids live in rain. They don't live in, this is why I'll tell you one really easy thing to remember. Orchids in Florida in the tropics, when they're growing in the trees in people's backyards, they have a lot of trouble being too close to a swimming pool because the chlorine evaporating from the swimming pool water actually is a real stressor on them. It stresses them out tremendously. Minerals, certain minerals, certainly chlorine and fluoride in water, tap water, are very rough on orchids. So please don't do that. Clay pots. Clay pots are lovely in a way, but the problem is that salts build up in the clay when you've used tap water. So I buy distilled water. It's what, $1.50 a gallon? It's nothing. You recycle the plastic jug bottles and it's great. So tap water always is out. Distilled water always is in because that's as close to rainwater as you're going to get. Remember that orchids, especially these Phalaenopsis or moth orchids, think they're living in trees. They don't live in soil, okay? We've planted them in pots, but those pots are filled with bark. They're not filled with dirt from the garden. So an orchid has roots which breathe, and which not only breathe, but their roots also are capable of manufacturing photosynthesis, chlorophyll. So you'll see some orchids will actually have greenish roots because light being on them, I'm so tongue-tied today, the light on the orchids also feeds the plant. Okay, so this is what you need to do. Most orchids are sold in pots with little holes in them. You see right there, that plastic pot. By the way, some of these pots are, let me see if I can lift one up for you. No, I can't. I can't lift it up. I'm sorry. These are not from the greenhouse. These plastic pots are all Chinese soup containers. Believe it or not, Mummy has saved her wonton soup containers, then taken a hot skewer off the stove and burned holes in the side of it to put holes that breathe. You can see them right there and in the bottom. I have repotted these from their small pots that they came in, those clear plastic pots, because they were too small. These orchids are getting bigger and bigger and healthier and happier. So I used bark. You go and get orchid bark, and then you make sure that the pot that you put them in is translucent, like these soup containers, so light goes through them. And then what I do is I go to my florist and buy these white milk glass, vases. They're like $20 a piece. You go to your local florist, and this is what they bring, your mom's birthday flowers in. Buy these. What's wonderful about these is this. You drop your orchid into a Chinese soup container like that, or you can buy online clear plastic pots with holes in them for your orchids. Then you suspend them inside these milk glass containers. So what you've got is this. You've got air moving all around the roots, right? The sides are open so that there's air moving around the roots. Then you also have clear containers so light can pass through them to the roots. So the roots are basically, these orchids think they're living in a tree right now. There's air moving around their roots. The soil is breathing. There's light, diffused light, not direct sunlight. And they're doing great. And look at them. Look at them. Each of them is doing wonderfully. I wish I had done this video earlier because there were more blossoms. Here's a new shoot here. This one is blooming. This one, yes, exactly. Oh, don't cut off branches of orchids. Do not cut off the branches. They rebloom. They will send out new buds. This is all a variety of, orchid color, from pink to deep purple. You can see, even as they're passing, like this one has dropped all its blossoms, right? That's the last one. This is going, but I won't cut off these branches. No, these branches rest and then they begin to bloom again. And sometimes, if you're really good to your orchids, really good, they throw off a baby. There's a keiki. It's called a keiki, K-E-I-K-I. It's a baby orchid, and that one, right at the base, right here, roots will start coming out of that. And when it has dangling roots, I will carefully snip that off, and then I will plant it in orchid bark, and I'll have a baby. I actually have a couple of babies upstairs that have thrived. Their mothers threw off plants, instead of flowers. This is what it looks like originally. You get buds, but every once in a while, one of those buds will suddenly become a keiki, and that's wonderful. Roots dangle in the air. They're looking for bark to grab onto, but that's fine. And I spritz these every day in the bark. I just spritz them every day, like about 5 spritzes from my distilled water bottle. By the way, never, ever, ever. There's a couple of nevers. No tap water, never. Also, never spritz your orchids and let water collect down into these leaf joints. Never let water sit in there. Yes, it's true. Orchids live in rainy climates and there's rain. But the thing that's different is that the rain, first of all, the orchids are hanging on the side of a tree, so they're not standing up like this, right? So the water doesn't collect in there. And secondly, they're in wind. The breezes are always blowing. So rainwater blows around and humidifies them, but it doesn't collect and get trapped in places where fungus can grow. By the way, one of your best friends, a fan, stirring the air all the time. So there you go. That's my lesson for today. Talk to you later.